specializing in rainwater harvesting technology. She is a co-founder of Design and Activist Cooperation in Mexico City, a group of designers that foster resilience and autonomy through collaborative design practice.
Another speaker is Mr. Yang Villa. He works to bring complex water issues and innovative solutions into mainstream. His current affiliation is head of Philippines at the Global Water Innovation Consultancy, ISL Utilities. But before that, Yang led water infrastructure and innovations project across Southeast Asia region. Yang is a compelling youth voice through his prolific work with the International Water Association, Academy for Political Management, and Center for Youth Advocacy and Networking. He co-founded the Philippine Young Water Professionals, for which he was recognized as an under-30 environmental champion, Strategy 6 youth champion, and finalist for the IWA Young Water Leadership Award in 2020. Our last but not least panelist is Randolph Waters. He's a senior director of global branding and partnership at Xylem. In his role, he leads the purpose-driven partnership with Manchester City Football Club and other sports icons to challenge water complacency amongst the 1 billion people globally, and is responsible for managing the portfolio of 40+ product brands. He also works closely with the International Water Association on a number of topics, including amplifying youth voices in solving global water challenges. He is an IWA Fellow and an Aspen Institute First Movers Fellows. So we are very grateful for our speakers to join also and finding time for this session and to share their experience and to work all together with youth audience. Megacities, as I think, are not easy human settlements in terms of infrastructure, its management, resilience, and so on. Different issues can be faced there. So let's hear some examples of it. Our first...
yes, okay. The first presentation will be made by Mr. Michel Anniken Johnson, and the subject of presentation is Formulation to Increase Access to Drinking Water, a case study of Lagos in Nigeria.
Can you hear me? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Mila, can you hear me, Mila? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. We can start the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So can we move to the problem concept? I already have an introduction, and Lagos is a major city, probably it's the most populated country, populated state in the country. It's not the first, but the second country. It was formerly a country capital before it was moved to Abuja. So you would understand that it's not.
And you can, sorry for just interrupting you. Please, if you can get yourself closer to the microphone because we cannot hear you, so as our interpreters.
Okay, okay. So can you hear me now?
Not so also, but please try to maybe just make sure your voice is louder. Maybe shout a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Okay. So can you hear me now?
Better. Yes, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you. All right. So Lagos is a mega city. It has several water challenges. It's split into several both social, economic, and environmental problems. So one of such challenges is that due to the geography of Lagos, it's divided into two major settlements, which is the mainland and the island, and it's surrounded by the Lagos Lagoon and the Atlantic Ocean on the left-hand side. So some of the challenges are pertinent to the location. For instance, for those in the island, they have challenges with their drinking water, because the major source of drinking water in Lagos is
and you can, like, I'm sorry, our interpreters cannot hear you, so maybe we start with the second presentation until you try to find some headphones.
Okay, all right, that would help.
Thank you.
Okay, and the second presentation will be presented by Marina Balderas, and the subject is water scarcity in Mexico City, SDG 6 multiple targets.
Hello, good morning. I'm pleased to be here. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, very good.
Okay. So let me present you a general perspective of the water situation of my hometown, Mexico City, in order to visualize the huge and complex water problem, but also to identify certain solutions that exist within the chaos. As an industrial designer, I recognize that within the complexity and chaos exists the opportunity of innovation, the opportunity to trigger change that can benefit many lives. And so, well then, let's get started. Please, the next slide. Okay. Mexico City is one of the most densely populated cities on the planet. The population of the city is of 21 million inhabitants, which makes it the 6th largest metropolitan area in the whole world. The city rests on what was a very complex hydrological system. It was composed by 5 huge lakes and more than 20 rivers. It was actually founded over a lake. And if another urban design had occurred, the city would have resembled Venice rather than Madrid because of the number of rivers and lakes that existed. It was decided to drain the main lakes and use the rivers as sewage. Now, the terrible polluted rivers lie piped under the streets. Therefore, it is well known that the water crisis of Mexico City, it is not because of lack of water, but because of terrible design and management. It is proper to say that we have been in a constant fight against water. So sadly, but not surprisingly, nowadays, it is among the 10 cities most likely to run out of drinking water. The next slide, please. Within the same territory, there are high contrasts in quality of life. We have water consumption ranging from the very high 800 liters per person per day to the great 40 liters. About 80% of the population is under very high water stress, and the disparity is abysmal. It is precisely the population with a reduced quality of life to the lack of drinking water who pays up to 40 times more per liter and often waiting weeks for a highly demanded, costly, and polluting supply, like water trucks. Next slide, please. Additionally, the water supply network has a high environmental and social impact. As we drained and polluted the water that existed in this place, now we have built mega infrastructures to pump clean water from other states, and we pump water from the very stressed aquifer below us at a frenetic speed. The electric energy needed to fulfill these tasks is a lot, more than 2,280 million kilowatts per hour. And in order to keep supplying the level of water, demand this polluting and linear system can never stop. Ironically, 40% of the city water is lost through leaks and other pipe networks problems. The next slide, please. Wastewater is another monumental problem. Nowadays, the government bets on constructing another billion-dollar infrastructure with aims to receive residual water from the 22 million inhabitants for triple the budgeted cost and a decade late. And finally, as the city was built over lakes and rivers, every year falls thousands of millions of liters of rainwater. We have a very high average annual rainfall. And as rainfall is channeled into the sewage, it collapses this infrastructure, causing serious floods each year. It is a very complex scenario with great opportunities to improve. Thank you very much. We stop there. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. And our next challenge will be presented by Mr. Willa, connected to the Holistic Catchment Management for Metropolitan Manila. Mr. Willa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ludmila. I'd like the slides to be up, please. Thank you. Wonderful. Good day, everyone. What I want to share with you today are the challenges of integrated water resources management, or IWRM, in Metro Manila. As you may know, Manila City is the capital of the Philippines, which makes Metro Manila the larger urban megacity cluster with over 13 million inhabitants. Laguna Lake, which is pictured here in the slide, is located right next to Metro Manila. It is an important body of water because it serves various functions for drinking water, agriculture, stormwater management, transportation, power generation, and biodiversity. It is also a large body of water, actually the largest lake in the Philippines, with a shoreline that covers 32 local governments, including the cities in Metro Manila. Next slide, please. But Laguna Lake is actually part of an even larger system of water resources. As you can see in the map, the lake is connected to Manila Bay on the west side through the Pasig River. Pasig River cuts Metro Manila into the north and south portions.